Progressive influencer tells of detention at U.S. airport. Hasan Piker pictured with Playboy buddies at an event in Washington in 2018 says he was interrogated on his political views. We have got to show this. I gotta show him. Yo!
Wait, this is my favorite photo of you.
Okay,
what the hell? Progressive influencer tells of detention at U.S. airport. There ain't no way. That's a fantastic photo. Boy, do I have some stories to tell you. Holy moly. They're watching. Oh, the feds are watching. They're always watching. Feds are all.
Of course they are. H3 Sub was celebrating that he got detained. It was disgusting because it's just Destiny fans. They don't believe in anything but Hasan and Mike bad. And Denim's bad. And you know, whoever else they've declared their enemy. Okay, couple things to say, chat, about shutting the fuck up. Here's the thing. Whenever you are transiting an American border, you do not have the same rights as when you do inside the country. So what do you do in a Customs and Border Patrol area when you're crossing or transiting a border? Answer questions that are relevant to the transit or questions that are relevant to that. But when they start asking questions about other parts of your life, you just say, I don't discuss my day. I don't discuss my opinions with strangers. So let's see how well Hasan did.
I have a lot of interesting stories to tell you. Where do I begin?
I gotta say that if I'm in this same situation, I'm gonna break my own rule and just be like, aren't you ashamed of yourselves? Don't you feel shame? You went through all that fucking education and training and now you're harassing people because of their opinions about Israel. Isn't that, don't you feel kind of embarrassed? That would not be an intelligent thing to do, by the way. That would be an unintelligent thing to do, but I couldn't help myself.
For those of you who don't know, I was detained by Customs and Border Patrol. I was tactically ascertained and engaged in a kinetic situation where I was kinetically moved into a detention center inside of the O'Hare Airport. Before the ocular pat down, it's the flight manifest that they get ahead of time. They knew who I was and they were ready to receive me. Let's just say our story begins at Paris's premier international airport, Charles de Gaulle. The flight was actually fantastic. I slept the entire time. I slept like a guy.
The flight was great. I slept through the whole thing.
Goddamn baby. Slept the entire time. Didn't even eat on the flight, which is crazy. Finally get into the United States of America. And at which point I'm like, all right, let's do it. I got global entry. This is going to be my first ever global entry entrance. And they're processing everybody expeditiously. You walk up, boom, immediately they take your photo of your face and you walk in and there's a customs person there, cop there, just basically waves you. Okay. And they do that over and over again. It gets to me, take a photo, boom, walk in instantly. The Customs and Border Patrol agent goes, step aside, sir. I was like, here we go. All right. She goes, step aside, sir. An agent will come and take you to another location. I was like, is that proper protocol? I was like, sometimes it happens. I was like, okay. And I knew at that point, I was like, okay, I'm texting like family. I'm like, this is happening. I'm texting my manager. You know, I was basically I got Lolo on. I was like, listen, you know, I'm going in. All right. I'm freaking going in. Who knows how long this will take? Who knows what will happen? I had already heard like horror stories from people. There was like that one girl on TikTok that had talked about this, and I thought to myself, all right, it's done. It's happening to me as well.
A couple journalists messaged me over this week. They asked me a question if I feel unsafe or whatever. And I said, there is nothing the administration could do that would make me not speak out on the Gaza genocide or how to fight this fascist admin. I always assume everyone who speaks out for social change and progress is under the microscope of our federal law enforcement agencies. From CONINTEL Pro and FBI attempts to get Martin Luther King Jr. to kill himself, the well-documented law enforcement infiltration of anti-Iraq war protesters, environmental groups, Black Lives Matter, or the severe repression of college Gaza protests, this country has a long bipartisan history of hostility to social movements. As for my personal safety, I take these threats seriously and am prepared to defend myself and my family. That is ultimately the only response. What's happening today is no different than what happened in the 60s, what happened in the 70s, what happened in the 80s, what happened in the 90s, what happened in the aughts, what happened with Black Lives Matter. It's always the same shit. The federal government of the United States of America is hostile to progress of any type. And they're always going to do everything they can in their power, legal and illegal, to suppress it.
The way it works is there's a back door, right? And they take your passport, they go to the back door. You don't know what the hell's going on in there, but they sometimes come out and they just say someone's name with their passport in their hands and they go, you're clear to leave. Basically, when they bring you to the detention area, they, I guess, do some kind of on your background to figure out if you are going to get harassed even further. And I looked around at all the passports that people had to see if there were other American citizens. And lo and behold, at least in the area that I was at, I was the only American citizen. There was another guy.
I've been thinking about standing outside of my local police department with a giant sign saying, do you stand with ICE? Let me just help you out. The answer is yes. I'm gonna just help you out. I'm gonna let you know the police in America are the vanguard of fascism. There is no ambiguity. They stand with fascism. They stand with ICE. They will do violence. They don't care about the Constitution. They're too lazy and stupid to even look, and they violate rights on a regular basis. That's who your local police department is. They don't care. Now I want you to think about it from their perspective. Imagine you're a fascist and you're trying to repress a city, and you're trying to identify all of the radical leftists, and you're trying to identify all the people that might resist or protest. What could they do to make your job as easy as possible? I have an idea. Going outside of their fucking police station and raising your fucking sign saying, do you stand with ICE? So they could take a picture of your face. They can send it into they can arrest you and hassle you and talk to you. And then they can put you on a list. So how about you make their job harder?
Guy that actually had an American passport as well, because I asked the terrified family behind me, I was like, hey guys, if you don't mind me asking, like, do you guys have an American passport? And they were like, no. So it turns out it's just they're terrifying the shit out of mostly non-American citizens, okay? But apparently they're also interested in trying to terrify American citizens as well. Like, I've had secondary searches and stuff done to me before. I've had the, I think it's called the quadruple S. Like, they put the SSSS on your boarding pass, and you always get checked randomly when you get hit with that. Like, that's happened to me a lot in the past. I get GSR swabbed all the time. But this time, I didn't even have the quadruple S on my boarding pass. So I was like, all right, it's probably fine. So I wait. Finally, this agent comes out. Says, Hasan Piker. I'm like, that's me. Coming with me. I'm like, oh, brother, here we go. They take me to this back room, okay? And the back room is not great. The back room is designed in the most hostile way I've ever been inside of a room. The vibes are really back there. Everything is fluorescent light bulb, obviously. They had these two seats that were firmly planted into the ground, okay? They were complete metal. They were like tiny stools. Very uncomfortable, with like braces on the side so you can handcuff someone to them, okay? And there was also a seat for like a lawyer. So I sat down on the lawyer seat on the corner to establish dominance, because I've watched too many JCS interrogation videos, and I knew I had to have command over the room. So I didn't sit in the cuck chair. Instead, I sat in the lawyer chair. And we got to talking. And let me tell you, folks,
I would do the same.
TikTokers that talked about being detained, they were right. It was an insane situation. So it's very obvious that they knew exactly who the I was. It's very obvious that they knew how to like navigate the conversation. And it was a really, really interesting conversation that took.
Okay, before we go on, I want to, now that we've established that Hasan was in this situation, this is what you should do. The National Lawyers Guild put out this video.
Oh, hello.
We were just talking about you kids.
I'm Denise Heberly.
And I'm Bill Goodman.
Together, we've been fighting fascism for over 50 years.
And so much has changed over those 50 years, such as the ingredients to a successful firebomb.
And the glass that bank windows are made of.
But there's one thing that hasn't changed over 50 years, something that is so important to tell you kids who are new to this movement.
Shut the fuck up. You're sitting in the police transport van after a protest?
Shut the fuck up. In a holding cell with your comrades?
Shut the fuck up. Cop knocks on your door?
Shut the fuck up.
Texting on an unsecured device?
Shut the fuck up. Pulled over by the cops after a protest?
Shut the fuck up. Cop just asking about your day?
Shut the fuck up. Feds call your mom?
Tell your mother to shut the fuck up.
Now, repeat after me. When the cops come calling, what do you do?
Shut the fuck up!
All right, let's see if Hasan followed this principle.
Okay, it was very cordial, which I thought it was strange how cordial it was, because I've had...
It's called good cop, Hasan. It's called good cop. You just act cordial until a person incriminates themselves, and then you go, haha, thanks for admitting it.
I think they were being cordial because they wanted me to say something that was incriminating and say something that was enough to justify further detention from that point on. And let me tell you, they certainly did do that. So he knew exactly who the I was, but he was basically like broaching the conversation in a way where it was like free flowing, where in the process of discovery, he was adding on additional talking points. You know, he's like, oh, what are you doing in Chicago? And I was very revealing. I was like, well, I was in France because I want to take my family out for Mother's Day to France, but I had to come back early from France, even though today is technically Mother's Day, because I have a speaking engagement at University of Chicago. And he was like, oh, what kind of speaking engagement? It's like, I don't know, some like journalism school stuff. And he's like, oh, well, since you mentioned that, he kept saying, oh, well, since you mentioned that.
Shut the fuck up.
What do you do as a job? And I was like, I'm a Twitch streamer. And he's like, well, since you mentioned that you were a Twitch streamer, what kind of things do you stream about? And at first I was like, do I just tell him I play video games? Because I don't think this motherfucker is going to believe me if I say I just play video games to him, right?
Okay. Other thing to mention, if you are speaking to law enforcement, especially federal law enforcement, never tell a provable lie.
So I was just like, yeah,
and you know what's a provable lie? The idea that Hasan plays video games on stream. Can you guys imagine if Hasan got prosecuted for saying he plays video games on stream? Like, imagine Donald Trump is like, we got him! He says he plays video games on stream! And they're arresting him for lying to a federal agent. And they're like, he's like trying to bring up the time he played Helldivers with me.
Carter Nessua and Mike from PA be diving into hell. I'm gonna be hell no.
Okay, first of all, are we sure this is Hasan's gameplay? He's aiming at targets too well.
Okay, so when you talk about the news, do you talk about the war? And I was like, what do you mean by that?
That's true.
He's like, do you talk about Trump? And that was the first time where I was like, what the is this question? Like, I literally straight up told him, I was like, why are you asking me this? Like, I was like, what does this have to do with anything? And it was interesting because the dude asked so many insane questions. None of these questions are actually valid questions to ask. But I was entertaining it because, one, I didn't want to present it as being difficult because I didn't want to extend the detention. And two, I actually wanted to see how far I could take it. But I wanted to see like what they were trying to take from this conversation. I said, I don't like Trump. I was like, what are you going to do? It's protected by the First Amendment. I don't like Trump. Yes. Right. Like, I was like, I'm not fond of him. I don't like him. He said he was going to end the wars. He hasn't ended the wars. What the is up with that, you know? And the guy actually was very sympathetic. The agent was very sympathetic. And I don't know if it was
no, he wasn't
like JCS style interrogation technique to come across as sympathetic to like invoke some kind of positive feelings out of me in an effort to like get me to reveal something maybe that'll trip me up. Or because he just genuinely was sympathetic and he had the vibes of someone who was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Right. But he was like, listen, I'm Iraqi.
This is my problem. This is my main problem with Hasan. This is my number one problem with Hasan. He's the type of guy who thinks he would vibe with a grizzly bear because he has hot guy brain. When you're a really hot person, people are just nice to you in general in life. You think people are on your side. And so he thinks he could vibe out with a grizzly bear. He thinks he's vibing with the Border Patrol agent who's interrogating him about his political beliefs. He's like, oh, I'm vibing out with the Gestapo guy. He was sympathetic. No, he fucking wasn't. You are being manipulated. Now me, as mid-mic, I don't have that problem, okay? I don't think when people are nice to me, I'm narrowing my eyes. I'm like, what are they trying to get out of me?
I do think that him being Iraqi played a big role in this because if he wasn't, there was a lot of Redditor ass white boys that are at Customs and Border Patrol at O'Hare Airport. I saw them walk by. There was a dude who looked like he was like 25.
Oh my God.
This is my most unreasonable position. I feel like catch me in the wild, me and a bear. Bear sees me, notices my vibes, and is like, oh, you're chill. Like he just like sits down next to me. We eat together. You know what I mean? We hang out. We dab it up. I feel like I could vibe with a bear.
This is what a bear wants to do to you.
It's systematically trying from all angles.
She's feeling the pressure there. She's feeling that perspex is flexing. She's trying to see if she can crawl through it. She's trying to see if she can bite through it.
If you ever want somebody to explain white people shit, this is it. I would do this. I would go on the cube. But I understand that this is white people shit. I love Pole. I'm a bear guy.
And I knew immediately if that mother is my agent, I'm screwed. I'm going to CCOT. They wanted to conduct an investigation about my involvement with Hamas and my involvement with the Houthis, or they suspected my involvement with Hezbollah. Straight up. That's literally what this conversation was about. And it's not even a joke. Like they literally tried to get something out of me that I think they could use to basically detain me permanently. And I was like, so why are you guys doing this? And he's like, oh, it's just like routine. It's a routine process. I was like, it doesn't feel too routine. My big fear from the entire situation was like, if they were to ask for my phone, I don't want the federal government inside of my phone. He kept saying stuff like, do you like Hamas? Like, do you support Hamas? Do you think Hamas is a resistance group? Do you think Hamas is a terrorist group or a resistance group? Like, he just kept asking over and over again, right? And I kept repeating.
Wow, that's insane. That's fucking insane. The answer is, I'm an American and I have a First Amendment right to say whatever the fuck I want.
The same statement over and over again. I kept saying a couple different things. One,
also notice that he was asking him what he thinks instead of asking him about something he said. Is this thought crime now? Are we having thought crimes? You're not allowed to think Hamas is a resistance group now? It's one thing to advocate for it, but now you're not allowed to think it? This is Ethan Klein and Asmongold's definition of freedom, by the way. The right for the police to interrogate you about your thoughts.
In terms of like Israel and all the wars, I was like, I'm on the side of civilians. I want the endless bloodshed to end. I am a pacifist. I don't know what the they're trying to do. So I was like, I'm not going to go beyond it.
Yeah, but they could use that as a justification for other federal law enforcement activities. Like ultimately they could admit you to the country, but then they'll take the report of what you said and send it to the FBI so that they could justify more surveillance of your, of you. Then eventually they might even deny you foreign travel.
But then he just kept asking me about the Houthis. He's like, well, do you agree with the terrorist designation for the Houthis? And I said, I'm of the Brookings Institute mindset that in 2020, when Donald Trump initially designated the Houthis as a terror organization.
You shouldn't have answered this question. It should not have answered this question.
The second half of the conversation was actually like, because he left, went away for like 35 minutes, came back, and then he asked like actionable items. But
30 minutes and came back?
A lot of the that like the Ethan Kleins of the world have like cried about over and over again were unironically brought up in that conversation. And I was shocked. Okay. Not like the bleach sword, obviously, but like,
I don't understand why you're surprised. No, there's a difference between knowing that it's possible or even likely, and then how you behave when it actually being on the receiving end. Oh yeah, no, totally. That's really what it is. It's more like we suspected that we were on these lists, and now we know we are.
Like, did you interview a Houthi? It says here that you interviewed a Houthi, and I was like, or was he actually a Houthi? And I was like, he's not. You can look to all of the reporting that came out afterwards and before I interviewed him, that he's not a Houthi, that he is a regular Yemeni citizen. And I said, like, his name is Rashid al-Haddad. He is not even a Shia. And the dude, luckily, again, Iraqi, went, oh yeah, that's right. That's a Sunni last name. Al-Haddad is a Sunni last name. So he must not have been a Houthi. And the very fact that that was like a point of contention that could have gotten me arrested is insane. And I genuinely, in that moment, was thinking like, these dumbass slop tubers are actually playing with fire. These dip are playing a formative role in getting people in trouble with the law. Okay, that is literally the case. They asked me about my Twitch bans. Okay, it's not even a joke. They asked me about Twitch bans. But one thing that I thought was really interesting was in the actionable side of things, they also asked, have you ever interviewed a member of Hamas? Have you ever had a communication or correspondence with a member of Hamas, Hezbollah, or the Houthis? Now, what's really insane about that is that as someone who works in media, sometimes I do actually do journalism, right? As I've maintained this position over and over again. And I said that I would, if given the opportunity, talk to someone that is a part of the...
Bro, I just want to say this. And this is for everybody who's whining and bitching and moaning at Hasan and kind of victim blaming. Shut the fuck up. Stop victim blaming, idiot. This is a fascist fucking move to intimidate and chill speech. It shows solidarity for Hasan. I don't care if he did one or two things wrong that I wouldn't have done. The answer is Hasan is in the right 100%, and you're behind him 100%, no matter what he did or said. Shut the fuck up. Stop being hypercritical of the victim of a fucking fascist repression attempt. He didn't do anything wrong.
I think that I have the right to do so. So that is the part where they were like, if you answer yes to any of that, that's when, you know, there's like actually illegal stuff in there. Having said that, there is one part of it that wasn't illegal, which is being in communications or being in contact with someone at Hamas. Like,
what Hasan doesn't understand is that could then be used as a pretext to get a warrant to fucking monitor your communications. They could use that as an investigatory pretext to get probable cause.
But you're not technically detained. I was like, so I can leave? Like, I asked him, am I detained? And he's like, no. So I don't know if that was something that I should have said from the start. Am I being detained? Now, why did I tell you guys about this experience? In my mind, I thought maybe I shouldn't reveal this stuff because I think like the goal here is to put fear into people's hearts, to have a chilling effect on speech. Does this stop me from saying whatever the fuck I want to say? Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it was to give you more insight into what the government is doing and to speak out against this sort of stuff, because I do have a position of privilege here and I want to make sure that like you should know your rights, that you should not be fearful.
And by the way, Hasan is just absolutely blowing up. Like, Ethan Klein, thank you. You are my best friend. Destiny, you are my best friend. There's nothing that's going to do more to polarize liberals in favor of Hasan than this. And the bigger Hasan gets, the bigger I'm going to get. He's the wide part of the funnel, baby. Fucks.
That was my Customs and Border Patrol experience. I didn't know if this was going to be a moment where I was going to be the precedent-setting court case. You know what I mean? Like, that is definitely a worry that I have for sure. It's something that I think about because eventually, somewhere along the line, someone is going to be the precedent-setting court case of whether or not someone gets prosecuted for speech and speech alone. The line right now is material support, and that line is being blurred by this current administration with Mahmoud Khalil, with Mohsen Mahdawi, with Rumeysa Öztürk, right? Some of those people have been released at this point, but Mahmoud Khalil is still very much in detention. And according to Marco Rubio, the argument that they are trying to use is that speech is material support. They are actively trying to blur the boundaries between what constitutes material support to try to make it seem as though things that would be protected under First Amendment would be considered material support. It is what it is.
It was one of the most covered stories in the media. Twitch streamer Hasan Piker said he was questioned by U.S. Customs at airport. NBC. New York Post. Liberal loudmouth streamer Hasan Piker claims he was detained by U.S. immigration officials. Popular left-wing streamer says he was detained at airport. Mr. Piker said he was questioned for 2 hours on topics including the war in Gaza and President Trump. Left-wing pundit Hasan Piker says U.S. border agents grilled him on Trump and Gaza. Twitch star Hasan Abi says he was detained, questioned by border agents. Pro-Gaza streamer says he was detained at U.S. airport. Environment of fear. Popular U.S. leftist Twitch streamer Hasan Piker says he was grilled about Trump by customs agents at Chicago airport. Rolling Stone. Streamer Hasan Piker says he was... What's your favorite picture they picked? The YouTube Streaming Award. Hasan Piker detained by CBP while re-entering the U.S. from France. I think, ladies and gentlemen, can we just take a moment to thank Ethan Klein for mainstreaming Hasan? Thank you, Ethan Klein. Without you, Ethan Klein, Hasan wouldn't have been mainstreamed. Ethan Klein, thank you for mainstreaming Hasan. Like,
you're only relevant today because I fucking did a show with you. Literally created him.
I don't think that's really true at all.
I created him. I felt guilty for my participation in mainstreaming Hasan.
I would have never heard of him without that. The Leftovers podcast was politically so relevant and important. Fox 54 used Playboy. This has got to be the worst picture. A progressive influencer tells of detention at U.S. airport. Hasan Piker pictured with Playboy buddies at an event in Washington in 2018 says he was interrogated on his political views. We have got to show this. I gotta show him this. Yo! All right, hold on, chat. He's got to be live. Okay, he's live.
Seeing my friends posting on the RG stories of my Whiplash Chi-Town baby. Yeah. Let me keep going. There's a lot going on.
Okay, he didn't respond. Fuck.
Wait, this is my favorite photo of you.
Okay,
what the hell? Progressive influencer tells of detention at U.S. airport. There ain't no way. Hasan Piker pictured with Playboy bunnies at an event in Washington in 2018 says he was interrogated about his political views. That's hilarious, dude. That's a fantastic photo. Your detention story seriously blew up. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. Of course it was going to blow up. You're detaining one of the largest.
Oh, that was so funny, man. I am the highest ranking chatter in the community. Let's be honest. Okay. I am the highest ranking chatter, which means other chatters disagree with me. Like, that's part of being a chatter, is yelling at other chatters. But I am the highest ranking chatter. It's okay.